Hey guys, welcome back to our video series helping you to start reading the Bible. In our last video, we talked about how we're broken before God, that we don't have a great relationship with Him when we're born, and how much we need Jesus, not just a teacher, not just a life coach, to be the person to help reconcile us into that relationship. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you need to go back and make sure you've watched all those videos. They help lead up to this moment. And if you don't want to miss any of those videos, make sure you are subscribed to our channel. Now, today we're going to read another passage from the New Testament and another passage from the Apostle Paul. You might notice we're referencing him quite a bit, and that's because he wrote most of the New Testament. He was writing letters to churches that he had planted to help encourage them, correct them. So there's also letters from the Apostle Peter, from Jude, from Jesus' half-brother. Jude's one of those, James. So that's why we're reading a lot from the Apostle Paul, because he wrote most of the New Testament. This is from a letter to the church in Ephesus, so it's called Ephesians. And we're going to go to chapter 2, Ephesians chapter 2, and we're going to start with you reading chapter 2, verses 1 through 3. Okay, this starts with a little bit of a reminder of what we talked about in our last video, that we're broken in our relationship with God when we start. In fact, one of the passages here in verse 3 says that we are following our nature, by our very nature. The end of verse 3 says, we were subject to God's anger. So it's not just that our behaviors are broken. We have broken behaviors out of our broken nature. And so that creates a bad cycle by which we need a new nature, a new heart, and that can only come from Jesus. We might be able to change some of our own behaviors, but to actually change our heart on the inside, that's why we need Jesus. So finish the section out by reading Ephesians chapter 2, verses 4 through 10. Ephesians chapter 2, verses 4 through 10. Now that is an incredible amount of truth packed into one little passage. So let's talk about what we can learn and obey from this whole section. First, again, as we talked about in the last one, by our very nature, that's what it starts us out in this broken relationship with God. All of humanity has this bent inside of our nature. We're not bent towards God, we're bent away from it on the inside, towards our own desires, our own version of right and wrong. That's what leads to behaviors that actually rebel against God as well. But then we read, we don't have to worry about those behaviors earning us a relationship with God or moving us closer to Him, because it's not why He loves us. I love how blunt and honest Paul is here. And he says, God saved you by His grace when you believe. You can't take credit from this. You can't. You might think you deserved it. You might think you earned it. You might think He needed you. He didn't. There is, in verse 9, it's not a reward for the good things you have done, so no one can boast about it. It's not about what you've done. It's not about what you're going to be able to do for Him. It's about His love for you. He extends that as a grace. Grace means a gift we don't deserve. He gives us a gift we don't deserve, the love and forgiveness of Jesus. How do we receive that gift? We learn that it's through faith. It's not through chanting. It's not through burning incense. It's not through the sign of the cross. It's by trusting and believing in who Jesus is and what He wants to do in our lives. And then a very important passage right here in verse 10, where it says that He created us new in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things He planned for us long ago. Now, Paul just said good things didn't save us. Now he's telling us to do good things. Good things aren't the issue. Using them to try to save our souls, to right our relationship with God, that's where good things become kind of bad things. We're using good things for bad reasons. But if we say, out of our relationship with God, out of our love, out of our forgiveness, we then choose actions out of it. Just in the same way, I get married, I love my wife, out of my love, out of my marriage, now I have new behaviors and new actions. That's the same thing that's taking place here. We have a new identity, a new love, a new king, so there are new behaviors that we have as a result. We learn that we need to be humble enough to accept this from Jesus. That's what we need to obey. We've got to be humble enough to accept this, to admit that we have a brokenness in us, to admit that we can't make it right and it's not by our good works. That's going to take some humility. That humility will lead us to actually accepting the grace that God has for us, the gift that we don't deserve. So, and then once I am in that love, once I am in that relationship with Him, I don't just sit there and just snuggle and cuddle each other. I actually need to go live out good works. I need to go live out good works as a result of it. Okay, a couple more videos. So again, make sure you are subscribed to the channel so that you don't miss any of them. And then leave a comment below. We said Jesus wasn't a good teacher, but I bet you've had a good teacher in your life. Leave a comment of who was one of your favorite teachers that you ever had growing up.